Hi, everyone. Welcome to Please Excuse My OCD. My name is Tyler, and this is my friend Dee, who is here to hang out with us. I am so happy to have her on here. She is a ray of sunshine, and she has a page called TheOCDee, DEE, like her name. And she is promoting positivity and also comedy in relation to her OCD and ADHD. She wants to create a community online that is available for people to relate to each other of all ages, whatever you're dealing with, uh, are able to come in, hang out, and say hello, and also enjoy her content as well as share each other's. So I'm so excited to have her here on the podcast to talk about her experience with OCD and ADHD, and we're going to dive right into it. Also, just so everyone knows, we are not therapists or mental health professionals. We are simply people who are here to talk about our experiences with OCD and ADHD and to tell our truths. So, as always, if you are struggling, please seek advice from a mental health professional. Anyways, Dee, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Tyler. Happy to be here. Hi, everyone. And just a quick shout out. I'm wearing the OCD.
Yes.
Please excuse my OCD hat, and I have the hoodie on. So
you have the hoodie on. Oh my gosh,
yes.
Thank you so much.
Of
That's
course.
Wonderful.
I'll try to show the logo. Yeah.
I love that. Well, we'll start right there. Yeah. Thanks for promoting the podcast, and it looks great on you. I mean, seeing it on Instagram, I'm like, oh my God, like it's clear and it looks comfortable.
It's the best. I love it. It's a neutral color. I mean, obviously they come in every color, everyone.
Yeah.
So, but
yeah.
matches my car, which is I'm normally broadcasting live from my car.
Yes. It's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dee, for being here and chatting with me, and like being cool enough to chat with me. I know we talked, probably a couple months ago at this point about OCD and just like meeting each other, but I am thankful that you're here, and I'd basically just love to start off. You tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what your mission is, and give us the Spark Notes version of who you are.
Sure. I just learned about Spark Notes from my kids that are in high school, that they read those before taking tests. So
it's wonderful.
We called them Cliff Notes when I was growing up, but
yeah, we did too.
Yeah, so my name is Dee, and my nickname is TheOCDee, so because I struggle with OCD and ADHD since I was very young, but I've only really learned more about it and really come to accept it and understand it more now as an adult, probably in the last couple of years. So, and I would say, my kind of like subcategory of OCD falls into two: the just right OCD, where I like symmetry, perfectionism, arranging things a certain way, and doing certain rituals just because it feels right, or it just feels good. It's kind of hard to put into words, but I just like I'll make my bed every morning, and if the middle pillow isn't perfectly centered, I mean, I just feel off unless it's perfectly straight. And then I think it's like a sense of control for me, because I feel out of control with so many other things in my life, but I could control that pillow and where it's positioned. So it's just like one little sense of order for me. So, and then also the doubt and harm OCD. So I'm a big just in caser, I'll check the burners before I leave the house, and I know I did it, and I'll start to drive down the street and literally I'm maybe I didn't, and I will go back and I'll double check. And intrusive thoughts is another thing. I mean, I really started to notice that lately, because as I look online on Instagram and all the accounts that I follow, that comes up a lot, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I so struggle with that. I mean, all day long. I mean, from the moment I wake up until I go to bed, it's I'm always thinking, well, what if this happens, or this could happen? And it's just ruminating in your head over and over, and whether it has to do with my kids or house stuff or my dog or just really anything. So
I understand
that too. So, and then, I also have, unfortunately, ADHD. And so the two of them kind of are colliding all the time. So that's why my account says neat but messy, because I like things in a certain order, but I'm also a hot mess because I have time blindness and all the other fun things that come with having ADHD as well. So
executive functioning, all of that stuff of being able to carry out what you need to do, but feeling paralyzed to do it. It's like you have these two components just battling each other all the time.
Yes.
I get it.
Yes.
And so
And
that's a big thing with OCD specifically is the fact that a lot of people think that you're just automatically just neat and it's just a neat
right.
thing, um and that's a big misconception because like you just said,
Right.
like you can be completely neat but other times a mess in other ways, and it doesn't necessarily
Right.
mean that that's just the way that it is, because it stems
Right.
from the need to have control of like your surroundings or your
Yes.
life, right? And
Yes. Yes.
for yourself, did you notice like a certain time where this began for you, or is this more of like a later in life it became more prevalent for you? Like how did you really start to notice, hang on, something's off here?
Well, it definitely became more prevalent as I got older, and especially once I had kids. So,
Mm.
which I didn't until I was 40.
Hmm.
So, but anyway, I would say I started to, I guess, notice it when I was younger, more so in school. So, like, for instance, even, probably even in high school also, I would definitely in college, I would write and type all of my papers the night before they were due. And I mean, I always got
Yep.
an A, but I would like write them out longhand and type them on a typewriter. So that's when, I mean, when I was a child, I don't think I ever really noticed it. It came out more so probably in high school when, school got more
Gotcha.
demanding and stuff
Hmm.
like that. But I mean, I would always do little rituals, like make certain sounds. And my mom would say, why are you making that sound? You keep doing that certain sound. And I could still do it
Sure.
right now. It's almost like a tick.
Yeah.
Um, and I couldn't explain to her why I would do it. And I'm like, I'm not
Hmm.
doing that. But then she would still hear it. But this is back in like probably the late 70s. So, I mean, I'm
Sure.
55, everyone. So,
There you go.
so little things like that, but this wasn't really
Yeah.
talked about much back then.
No, it was. I mean, even when I was a kid, it wasn't talked about
Yeah.
because I'm 30,
Right.
and like
Right. Right.
these things I didn't realize until I was in my early to mid 20s. So that's the thing too.
Right.
Like, and I'm glad that you brought up the ADHD and OCD,
Mm-hmm.
coexistence, because I too have both,
Yes.
and I deal with
Okay.
it even as a producer and creative because I know how perfect I like to have things in my work,
Yes.
and that
Right.
itself is enough for me to put it off, because I'm like, I know how
Right.
exhausting it is for me to get it perfect and how much work it takes. And so you
Yes.
put it off, you put it
Hmm.
off, you put it off until you literally can't do it anymore and you have to just sit down and do the job. Um
Yes.
and you always figure it out, but I think that does go back to the executive functioning of not being able to pull yourself to do something, because you know what it entails, and you know how much pressure you put on yourself to have it perfect, and when it's not, you feel this uneasiness of like you just want to jump out of your skin type feeling, which is
Hmm.
just horrendous.
Right.
And it's also the worst when
And you
you
feel
can't. Yeah.
right. And you feel like you're going to be judged if it's not perfect, and you don't want to let people
Yes.
down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very real thing, and I'm really glad we're talking about this because I would love to one of these days dive really deep into like the ADHD OCD relationship, because a lot of people I know,
Of course.
who have it, like they were mistakenly diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and
Hmm.
they have like there's a lot of overlapping with ADHD and OCD, but there's also a lot of things that I feel like the OCD is worse because of the ADHD, and vice versa, as like you
Oh,
were just saying.
absolutely. Yes.
And
Hmm.
for for one of the big reasons I wanted to talk to you too is from the point of view of motherhood. And although like obviously like I can't be a mother, eventually like I'd like to be a father. And
Of
the
course.
biggest thing for me is how will my OCD be when I do have a child, if I have a child. So can you talk to me about like your experience becoming a mother and really how that changed things for you in OCD?
Yeah. It's tough. So I don't like to talk about my children like too much publicly.
Sure.
Well, they're teens now. But I try to keep that side of my life private. But I will
Hmm.
say, just as a parent with OCD and ADHD and parenting children that also have just the ADHD is it's definitely really challenging, because obviously with OCD I want things a certain way and they're supposed to be done
Hmm.
this way, and then when you have kids that are just not complying with you, it
Sure.
definitely it's a trigger, and it makes you stressed out, and it maybe makes you act out and get
Hmm.
angrier than you should. And especially when they're a
Hmm.
little toddler, like the toddler years are very tough, especially if you have kids that aren't like
Hmm.
completely neurotypical. So
Yeah, that's
yeah, it's
interesting.
definitely, I mean, it's definitely challenging. It's I mean, you could empathize with them from their ADHD stuff, but then my OCD side is like, but no,
Yes.
you got to act this way, and it's hard. It is. It's very hard. So
Wow. No,
I'm
I
just being honest, but
commend you for
yeah,
sharing that. And I get it on
yeah,
the other side because my mom
right,
definitely has just right OCD. And so,
yes,
things had to be a certain way, in the house. And
mm-hmm,
she didn't even
right,
necessarily know that she had it until I got older. And I was like, uh, this
yeah,
is something, and
right,
she was very open enough to kind of dive deep into that. But sometimes we don't even know that it's the OCD that's driving it, or the ADHD, and we have things a certain way, we act out a certain way, and because you don't have control of other people, you don't have control of how other people act, and you're living in a house with other people. I can see
right,
how like the just right OCD can really be something that's hard to deal with because um,
mm-hmm,
on one level you can control your own actions, but then your actions are almost nullified when someone else comes in and makes a mess here, or like puts their shoes
right,
here, and something's your whole world is all of a sudden upside down.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely a big adjustment, but also just with the OCD stuff as a parent with kids that have ADHD. So, um, like the whole doubt and harm
Hmm.
aspect, I'll be like,
Hmm.
are you sure you did X, Y, and Z? Are you sure you
Hmm.
shut your bedroom door so the dog doesn't get in there and eat any food that you may have left in there? And like they will assure me that they did, but I won't believe them. I'll have to go and check, like just
Yes.
things like that. So yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. And that's the
But I have to say,
compulsion.
I'm very, yeah, it's the yes, yes, it is. And I'm very honest with my kids. Like, I've been through a lot in my life, and they know everything that I've been through, and
Hmm.
they know that I struggle with both the OCD and the HD. So at least I'm honest with them. And as I get older, I think they understand it more. But
Hmm.
um, it's funny, like when I was in my 20s, like mid 20s, I went to a therapist, and I was telling her things that were happening for me, and she slid across the desk this book called Scattered by Dr. Gabor Mate, I think how he says his name, from Vancouver. And he's getting a lot of press right now on YouTube and whatnot. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but
No.
and the book, it was one of the first books, I believe, about ADHD. And she just kind of slid it across the desk. She's like, I think you should read this. And I just started thumbing through it, because I mean, I don't, as an ADHD person, I'm going to admit, like, I don't really read books. Like, I can't read a book because, well, it's really because of the OCD and the ADHD. Like, I'll want to read somebody's biography, like Bruce Springsteen, and it's so big. It looks so daunting. And
Hmm.
I read and reread sentences over and over again, and then it stresses me out. And I'm like, I'm never going to get through this book, and then I just don't read it. So, I mean, I
Sure.
read a lot throughout the day, lots of articles, and I deep dive into things. But reading really long books is it's hard for me,
Sure.
um, both because of the OCD and the ADHD.
Hmm.
Um, but where was I going with this? With the kid? Oh, so this therapist slid across this book, Scattered, and I started thumbing through it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is totally me. This is totally me. But I mean, this was in like maybe 99, 2000, and I didn't really want to believe it, you
Hmm.
know. And I just was going through some other things in my life, and I just kind of like brushed it under the rug. So I'm sure you've seen and heard that like females or women being
Hmm.
dosed very later in life now with ADHD. It's a very hot topic right now. And so
Yes.
I'm definitely falling into that camp. And then
Hmm.
also raising kids that also have it.
Hmm.
It's really brought to light, you know, my issues with it. And it's also made me have at least some more compassion for my kids, because I realized, you know, I'm just like them. I'm an adult now, so I can handle myself differently. But, you know, it just made me be more like empathetic and sympathetic towards them.
Of course,
Um,
because you know how it
so
feels.
just learning more, but right. But that's, yeah, that's a book to check out called Scattered. So, you know,
Scattered, yeah.
um,
I totally
yeah,
understand the issue with reading, um, with ADHD, and I had a problem in school with that. But it wasn't
yes.
until I could actually read things that I cared about and that I really could put,
Right.
effort and like attention into. Like it was so that's the thing about ADHD that I think a lot of people don't understand is it really is a superpower when your brain is being lined up with something it's
Turned on.
interested in. Yeah. But when it's
Yes.
something that you don't care about or it's not something that tickles you a certain way, you like literally can't focus. It's one of
I
those
know.
things. And so
It's
people
really
often
tough.
yeah, people often really just write it off as like a laziness thing or something that, they just are not advanced enough to read, but it has nothing to do with that. It really is the brain just really requires more of stimulation to be able to be kept at a certain
Right.
spot. So,
Yeah.
that could be really tough for kids in school too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm like kids, one in particular has their struggles
Yeah.
with school. But okay, so an example of the whole not be able to work on things that don't interest you when you have
Hmm.
ADHD. So is my whole Instagram, the OCD plus the website that I've been paying for the URL TheOCDE.com for literally over 3 years, and it still says coming soon. And the reason why it says coming soon is I have plenty of content to put out there, but
Sure.
WordPress is just not my friend. And I'm paying for the hosting and everything,
Hmm.
but there's just something about the WordPress interface and just making it look pretty.
Hmm.
And I mean, I'm right at the finish line, but it's just, I get so frustrated and it makes me feel dumb. And I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And so I've hired people to get it going for me. And then, life got in the way, but yeah, to your point that it's a struggle to do
Yeah.
anything that doesn't, because it doesn't interest me. Like, I just want the website done. I
Yes.
don't want to learn the reasons why it looks pretty. I just want it to look pretty. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and it's
That's a
really
big
held
thing.
me back because I mean, millions of people are designing websites that are, as smart as me, or maybe not even as smart as I am, that are doing, like, why can't I? But it's because it doesn't really interest me, but I'm going to get
Sure.
there. This is my year, Tyler.
Well, I'm excited to
So
see it. And I also, can you tell people,
yeah,
and I know that, we we talked about it in the intro, but can you tell people
yeah.
exactly, your mission with the website and also on social, like you're a ray of sunshine on social media. And I think it's wonderful.
Oh,
And so,
thank you. With my
I
130 followers, haha.
yeah, yeah, you know what?
But we're going to change that.
Yes, and you have to also recognize too that um the follower count doesn't matter as much as the content you're
Right.
putting out there and really who it is that you're connecting to. So, can you tell us
Yeah,
just a little bit more about like the OCD, and really what you're going for?
absolutely. Yeah. So because it took me forever to launch the website, um, a couple of friends and just people said, just start by going on, social media, Instagram. And so there were a few friends, and actually, randomly enough, as I think this is how you and I got in contact, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the man himself, has this
Yes.
thing called The Pump, this workout video. And in December, I follow it. I just get the free daily newsletter, which is great. It's
Yeah.
like a workout tip, a food tip, and like a life tip. And the last weeks of December in 23, a couple months ago, they've had something called the fitness challenge or end of year challenge. And if you posted yourself doing the videos, their workout videos, you would enter into a contest. And so I'm like, okay, I love a good contest. And this is something that's going to make me finally put myself, like, I was never even on Facebook. I am not I'm just not a social media person. So when Facebook was launched, I just became a stay-at-home mom. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm just like, no, I don't want to get sucked into that world. And I'm kind of glad that I never did, because it's just, the
100%.
craziness that could happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm one of the only people I know that didn't go on Facebook. So social media was just kind of like scary to me.
Sure.
But I'm like, okay, this is gonna make me put myself out there. And so I don't know if you knew this or not, but I was one of the 3 winners
I did.
that
Yes.
won the end of the year contest. So and so I was
Congratulations.
so excited. Yeah, I did my 9 videos. They were really just very basic, but it got me over my fear of putting myself on camera.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, now I got over that hump. I go, let me now do my OCD thing on social media as well. Since it's taken me forever to launch the website,
Hmm.
again, friends encourage me, just do it, just do it. So that's how I finally started doing, or how I launched my Instagram. So it's TheOCDee.
Hmm.
It's a play on words because I have OCD. My friends call me Dee. So,
Hmm.
it's my nickname. My full name's Denise, but
Hmm. It
anyway,
works.
I
It
prefer
works
Dee.
really well.
Yeah. And so the URL was available, it was
Hmm.
just fate. And the handle was available on most social
Yeah.
accounts, so I have it for almost all of them, but I'm just starting with Instagram because I kind of know it
Sure.
the most. And so anyway, but my whole goal for the website and this is just to, I'm just looking to like use humor and compassion, and just to build an online community of people that know what it's like to suffer from the isms of either
Hmm.
OCD and ADHD, either if you have both or one or the other, because I could relate to, people that have one
Yes.
or the other, or both. So,
Yeah.
and, I like, my friends always say, you should do a vlog. And, I like to make people laugh. I was always like the silly one amongst my friends. I mean, even as an adult, like when we go on vacations and stuff, I just like to make people laugh, and I like to,
Yeah.
um, goof around. And so I'm like, why not use like self-deprecating humor is kind of my thing. So
Yeah.
I'm always making fun of myself, which I know we're supposed to have self-compassion, which I'm
Sure.
really working on. That's a really, really hard one for me. It's like being nicer to myself,
Hmm.
and, having compassion for myself. But self-deprecating humor is just the way that I've dealt with a lot of things in my life. And so you'll see a lot of self-deprecating humor, just humor in general, maybe some
Hmm.
funny memes, and just a safe space to for us to all to relate to each other.
Sure.
And, I'll just offer stories like, oh, do you do this or do you do that? Well, I do it
Hmm.
too. And if you feel free to vent here, and you always have an online bestie here. I'm like I could give you an e-hug because, you're not alone.
Yes.
Like that's really what I'm going for. Um, and I also really love music, as, that's one of the
Yes.
things you and I have in common. I mean, obviously I'm
Yes.
an avid music fan. And since I was a child, I mean, I would like play records in my room when I was little if I was sad, and like my
Of
Journey
course.
records, and like music has just always been an escape for me. And so I usually start off all my videos with singing like a line or two of a song. And I can't sing, but I don't care. It's just, again, it's
Hey,
part of the humor.
it's
So
it's
I
it's
sing a
coping
line or
too.
two. Yeah. And I try to relate the song lyric or whatever to what I'm talking about that day, but sometimes it's not a perfect fit. But anyway, I just like to start with music and then talk about something that's related to OCD or ADHD in a fun way. And that's really it. Just build an online community. I'm not selling anything.
Hmm.
um, but
I love
just
that.
looking to, yeah, just build a community. And I guess kind of ultimately maybe be an influencer, whatever that
Hmm.
means these days. But, um,
Sure.
I am trying to make it monetize it in some way
Hmm.
eventually, but,
Hmm. I understand.
maybe with ads or whatnot. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, social media is a
So
great place
hopefully that
to start.
describes it well enough, but
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the
yeah.
biggest thing that I think you are saying is that you want to build something where people feel that one, they're not alone, two, they're safe, and three, like
Yes.
we can almost like heal together. And I know that kind of sounds cliche or
Yes.
weird or whatever, but like I kid you not,
No, but
yeah, as soon
yeah.
as I got onto social media with like the podcast and started to dive into the
Yeah.
social media community with OCD, I learned so much more
Hmm.
about my OCD.
Oh,
And
yeah,
like this, it's a
definitely.
huge, there's something really good that's there in social media when it comes to being able to connect with each other. And 10-year-old
Right.
old me would have been like, like 10-year-old me needed this. So I can imagine
Yes.
that other people may feel the same way. And I think with what you're building, with the OCD,
Mm-hmm.
you could really be doing that for a lot of people who are in your age range as well, because there are a lot of people I know personally in my own life who are older than me who have a very different outlook on mental health and a very different
Mm-hmm.
outlook on what it is to open up about mental health, especially towards
Oh,
themselves,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
so, and I really like think it's a very great strength of yours to be able to be very straightforward online, not only with
Mm-hmm.
humor, but also like, hey, I have this, and it's not who I am, but it's something that I live with, and this
Right.
is kind of how I cope with this. So I commend you for being able to do that.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it was a big leap, but like I said, once the floodgates opened, I'm fine with it now. And I think the older you get, you become a little more comfortable in your skin, and you don't worry so much what other people think. Because I mean, I definitely have suffered from that, like pretty badly. Like always wondered what other people think, and
Hmm.
but you start to care less and less about that as you get older. But yeah, so even though I'm 55-year-old mom of teens. It's funny, like, I mean, I have a little part-time job and I just know people in all different walks of life and all ages. And like there's like guys even younger than you that are just out
Hmm.
of college, or like my Starbucks barista. I mean, I'll talk to them about my, what I'm trying to do. And they're like, oh my God, I would follow you. Oh my God, I have that too. And so, because these things like OCD and ADHD, they're not like, they don't discriminate with age, right? So you could be
Yes.
any age and to relate to what I'm doing. So yeah, I'm trying to appeal to any age, but to your point,
Hmm.
especially for people my age, where because we were always taught to brush things under the rug and keep things private, and it's not okay to discuss your problems out loud. But those times are long gone. So I
Yeah.
think it's important. It's just, I mean, like you said, I've just learned and discovered so much about these conditions and just on social media. So
Hmm.
there is some good happening. I mean, obviously there's some the bad
Sure.
side of social media
Yes.
as well, but
Yeah.
um,
It's all
I
about how you
think if we
use it
just
too.
cut that out and yeah, yeah. So
With
um, yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, no, I'm good.
No, I was gonna say, when it comes to, you know, coping, I know that you had talked about
Mm,
like self-deprecation and like humor. Because I mean, there's all of my favorite
yes.
comedians, like a lot of them, look at Ryan Reynolds. He's like he loves to self-deprecate, and he's one. I'm not saying that's the way, but I'm
Oh,
saying like
right.
it is a coping mechanism on some level. But comedy in general,
Yes.
which is something that I also use to cope. How did
Hmm.
you find that like worked for you, using comedy? Because I know comedy is a really weird thing right now. A lot of people are like walking on eggshells with it, but as somebody who
Right.
suffers with, OCD and ADHD,
Yeah.
sometimes comedy is really something that can be a relief for us. And I'm wondering for you how you found comedy was like your almost like your way of kind of helping
Yeah.
yourself.
Like my salve.
Yeah.
Yeah. I, well, it's fun. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just a personality thing. But I mean, I always preferred, comedic movies, I guess. And my dad was a jokester, so I
Mhm.
probably maybe get it from him. Um, maybe just in friend groups and stuff growing up, and even as an adult, like when you always feel so bad about yourself, but if you can make somebody laugh, it makes you feel good. It's like one for the
Mhm.
plus column. I'm like down on
Yes.
myself about so many things, but like, wow, I could actually make somebody laugh. Okay, well, I'm gonna work that angle because it makes me feel good if I can make somebody else smile or laugh.
Yeah.
Um, I think it just feels good. It's like I'm doing something right for
Mhm.
once.
Mhm.
I'm not running late. I'm not like obsessing about something. It's like I'm actually doing something good and productive. Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's just like a feel good thing. Um,
I get it.
and yeah, I mean, I thought about doing like stand up before, but
Really? That's cool.
I have tons of material. I mean, tons.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So when the cameras are off and like there's not you're not posting something, or there's just you're in
yeah,
your home or whatever it is, like, are there other ways that
okay.
you cope with the intrusive thoughts? Like, I know how you had brought up intrusive thoughts earlier. Is there a way that you cope with
Yeah.
that? Like, how does that work for you?
I mean, just by what I've been reading and trying to learn, it's
Hmm.
just, like addressing it. Okay,
Hmm.
there's that thought,
Hmm.
that's not rational, right?
Hmm.
And just like compartmentalize it, just say,
Hmm.
okay, like you're having that thought, it doesn't make sense. And just, I think just acknowledging them and, and just trying to move on. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
a good explanation or not, but it's just, yeah, addressing it instead of like stopping myself from really going down a rabbit hole with the thought has been very helpful.
Yeah.
So, okay, wait, what are you doing? Like, don't
Hmm.
just calm down, take a breath. And then actually, which is something I did in one of my posts, is like, I do this breathing exercise, the 4-7-8 rule. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but actually that my favorite TV show ever, Ted Lasso, that was on Apple TV. The character suffered from panic attacks, which is something that I also suffer from. I mean,
Yes.
knock on wood, not too much
Hmm.
anymore because of stuff that I do. But so you breathe in for 4 counts, you hold it for 7, and then breathe out for 8 counts. And that's another thing that I've done to help with if the intrusive thoughts are starting to spiral a bit. Like I'll just
Spiral,
do
yeah.
a quick reset. So
That's
yeah.
really helpful.
So breathing and yeah, the breathing 4-7-8 method, and
Hmm.
just acknowledging the thought before it gets, too far down.
I think a lot of people, and I was guilty of doing this growing up, when I would have these thought spirals, I would try to avoid them, or like I would like try to not have the thought, right? But it's virtually impossible to like stop yourself from
Right.
having a spiral once you start. And there's something to be said about
Yes.
acknowledging that you're having it, and
Mm-hmm.
instead of like the fighting of like, oh, like think about this instead, or like trying to stop yourself, the act of acknowledging that you're having a thought and letting yourself have it without getting involved, which is something I like that you said, without getting involved in it and having to follow the thought wherever it
Mm-hmm.
goes. um Sometimes
Right.
just allowing yourself that space to have the thought and not seek the assurance, or like Google something, or try to like avoid um the
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable feeling of having it, is really
Right.
powerful. And
Right.
it's obviously done over time. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to be the first time you try it where you just let it happen, and
No.
it's not something
Right.
that's going to be helpful right away. But I think the practice of allowing
No.
rather than
Mm-hmm.
avoiding, I think, is very important. And it's I'm glad that you brought that up.
Right. Yeah. Acknowledge, take a
Hmm.
moment, and try to slowly move on. Yeah.
Yes. And I didn't realize that I mean, I should have realized this, because OCD and panic attacks are like, they're like also another, they're like the love triangle. If you
Oh,
have, especially
yes. Oh
ADHD.
my gosh.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
for panic attacks are
Yeah.
so hard to deal with, but
The
they are not
worst. The
dangerous.
worst.
Yeah. And
Right. I know. I know.
they
It's
they're
crazy.
they're seriously like, they can feel like you're dying. Like I know in college I was having them all the time, to the point
Oh,
where it was hard for me to go to class. It feels like you're dying,
yeah,
and I think
it does.
it's like one of the worst feelings in the world. But but like I said, it's not dangerous. So I think for you, when it comes to like panic attacks, do you feel that, I know you said the
Mm-hmm.
breathing technique, the 4-7-8 rule, is something that is really really good for you.
It's
um
huge. Yeah.
yeah, like that's something that I would like to try, because I don't think I've actually done that before, like consciously. Mine was more so
Mm-hmm.
the findings, like coming back to your reality of finding something that you can touch, see, smell. So you take your brain and it really starts to like really be in the moment, is really what you're doing to
Yes.
ground
Yeah. Using all your
yourself.
senses. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm wondering
Very
if
helpful.
you've ever tried that technique.
I actually just learned about that literally the other day. And I think it was
Really?
on one of the accounts on social media. Yeah. Like how using your senses and to look like I see a green hedge right now. There's a green hedge,
Hmm.
or I could see some dirt on the ground, like using nature and like naming things that are in front of you that have a name and a place and just
Yes.
saying things out loud. And yeah,
Hmm.
I literally just learned that the other day. So if that's something that a tool that you've had since you were younger, that's great. I mean, I've never
Yeah.
even heard of that one, but I forget what we call that. If there's
I think it's
a
just a
name for
grounding.
like just grounding. Yeah.
Yeah,
Grounding
grounding.
technique. Yeah.
At least that's what my therapist would tell me. But and also that's more of like, if you're doing ERP, exposure response, um it's you that is more different. So like you're putting yourself in the situation to have a panic attack, but also not doing
Yes.
anything to avoid it or not doing anything to avoid the discomfort, but also like showcasing to yourself that it's okay. Like you're this,
Right.
like showcasing to your body that it's okay, because a lot of it is not avoiding the discomfort, it's not avoiding the unknown, it's not seeking reassurance, it's being able to reprogram your brain to, because really we program our brain when we are having panic attacks or like on the onset of a panic attack to run. We're programmed to get out, to seek comfort right away, and that's really what
Yes.
keeps us in the spiral of the panic attack and the anxiety is that the seeking of reassurance and the seeking of comfort. And so ERP
Absolutely.
really tries to reverse that, so it puts you into the
Yeah.
danger without actually being in danger, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I've never done ERP actually, but,
Mhm.
um,
I've never done it
yeah,
with a
cause
physician or like a
oh,
specialist. Like I should have. I've done it
okay.
on my own, which I do not
Right.
recommend. But
Well, right. Well, you're trying, right?
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I definitely had them when I was younger, the panic attacks that get worse as I got older, but sometimes they would come like seemingly out of nowhere,
Hmm.
like I thought
Yeah.
things were going well in my life. And then for a while, like before we moved to California about 9 years ago, um, like in the middle of the night one time, it was like, the feeling. I mean, it's like literally like you're having a heart attack. I mean, you think that this is it, like you're going to die and going
Hmm.
to the hospital and then wearing a heart monitor for a week. And really, it turns out, you're just crazy. Haha. I mean, I say that jokingly, but
Sure. Sure.
I think the doctor actually said that to me. Oh, you're just crazy, because I'm a
Oh my
middle-aged
gosh.
woman. Yeah. But, it's
Wow.
just like underlying stress, I guess, and just manifest. So, and for me, sadly, they're happening at night and like often. And so, I mean, I'll be honest, like I usually I don't take many medications, but, Xanax, like a teeny tiny dose,
Hmm.
we started with 0.25 and that didn't help. But once I went to zero point 0.5 just before bed, knock on wood a million times. It's been many years. So, it's helped me. I mean, it might even be placebo effect at this point, but it's helped keep them at bay,
So to get a really good
at
night's
least at
sleep.
night. Yeah, yeah. And it's just a tiny amount. And it's like within about 30 minutes, I'm like, and luckily I don't have an addictive personality, but I
Hmm.
mean, I could see how Xanax like is frowned upon being used by a lot of doctors because it definitely could become addictive, right? It has a
Hmm.
high addiction profile. It's a benzo or whatever.
Right.
Um, I mean, they make you feel good. And so, I mean, it just somehow like it takes the edge off. And so it, like I'm afraid to ever to go to sleep again
Without having
without
one.
taking it. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so I don't abuse it. I mean, I'm not a good flyer. Sometimes if I have a flight,
Hmm.
I'll take that same amount. And it's usually just enough
To help
to
you like
help. But
yeah. Well, I know
yeah,
there's a
but
lot of people who will literally live with it,
I
and
know,
not ever put the bottle down, and I think that's when it can be a
I
dangerous
know.
thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I had to fight to get it. Like when I moved from New Jersey to California, I mean, like, like the doctors, like they don't like to prescribe it. And so
Hmm.
I'm like, I know, but you don't understand. It's like life or death for me. So,
Sure.
and I proved to them that like they've never had to increase my dose or, um, it just, that's it. So, I mean, I'm lucky. I feel fortunate that I have that tool, but,
Yes,
um,
yes.
Yeah, it is highly addictive. So,
Yeah, and I've
and I could
the
see why.
well, yeah, the doc. I mean, they always, at least the ones that I like, my psychiatrists have always
Hmm.
told me the same thing, and I've had the same. Like the last time I got a refill, I think was 2022, and I've had the same bottle since then.
Oh,
But
wow.
I
Okay. Well,
only like if I've stopped myself from. I barely need it, but if I really need
that's
something,
great.
yeah, then
Right.
I'll take it. But I always, and when I have these conversations with people, and I know a lot of people who have, Xanax and lorazepam, and you
Hmm.
know, like I know a lot of people who are in the OCD community who use it.
Hmm.
Um, they always have that same kind of sentiment where it's like in the beginning when they first were like on medication, or when they first figured it out, they were taking it quite often, and then eventually it tapered off to the point where they were able to not take it, or at least take
Hmm.
it once in a while. I think in your
That's good.
case it sounds like it's more, and I'm not a doctor and obviously, but I think
No,
in,
of
in your
course.
case
Yeah.
it's more just like like part of like a nighttime ritual to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know what that entails. I don't know what the effects of that are, but it doesn't sound like you're like, give me my Benz. You know what I mean? Like it's just,
No.
I just want to sleep. You know?
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
and not worry about having a panic attack, right? It
Right.
takes the worry away from that happening,
Hmm.
right? So,
Yeah.
but I mean, I will still get that feeling sometimes, like,
Hmm.
uh-oh, I feel one coming on. And honestly, like that the breathing method it's so simple, but
Hmm.
and I'd kind of known about breathing exercises, but literally, like, who would think a TV show, Ted Lasso? I don't know if you ever watched it, but it's just my all-time
I've watched
favorite.
a few episodes
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
I mean, once I got into it, I was like, oh my gosh, but on so many levels, I just love it. I'm sad that it's over, um, but it came up in that show, and I mean, it's great. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll just
That's a
say it again. If you
positive
breathe, you,
show.
you breathe in through your nose for
Hmm.
4 seconds, and then hold it for 7, and then breathe out through your mouth through like pursed lips, like for
Hmm.
8. So, anyway,
Okay.
in case
That,
anyone tuned
yeah.
in later.
There's so many different breathing techniques, and I think a lot of it at the core of what you're saying has to do
Mm.
with the control and the focus of your breath,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're able to focus on how long you're whoops how long you're breathing in, how long you're holding it, how long you're breathing out, that focus
Mm-hmm.
itself is really giving your brain that presence to be here
Yes.
now. Whatever's happening, that's what's happening. um,
Yes.
which is huge. The presence factor is huge, and a lot of people, um, in my life that I have people in my life that I talk about meditation a lot with, and meditation is, of course, not a fix all tool for OCD. Like OCD is a real brain neurological disorder,
Right.
and there are chemicals that need to be helped when it comes to OCD. So meditating itself is not something that can just fix OCD, but as a tool,
Sure.
like breathing, like you said, being able to be present, stay present, come back here, I really believe in the long term can be a useful tool when used daily throughout your life.
Oh, definitely. And speaking of medication, just for OCD, I mean, it's definitely in OCD is definitely inheritable. I
Hmm.
I believe, um, because my mom has it, and hers is pretty bad and gets older. I mean, it gets worse as she gets older. And she has
Hmm.
taken medication for it, kind of on and off. I think Paxil,
Yes.
and yeah, I mean, to be honest, like it. She's like, you know what? But her OCD is so bad. Like, she's like, I don't think it's helping. Like, she's so worried to even take the pill.
Hmm.
She obsesses about what's
Of
going to
course.
happen to her, and she reads every side effect. I mean, a little bit this has spilled over to me, but like she'll read
Hmm.
every side effect. I think she has every side effect, and then so it's almost worse when she is on the meds because she thinks that all these other things that are then happening to her.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
um, I mean, I think she probably, and the doctor thinks she probably should have been on a higher dose, to be honest, because she also has some anxiety and
Yeah.
depression as well. I mean, as do I. But anyway, yeah, it hasn't really been that successful for her. But again, it probably just wasn't the right dose. I mean, I'm not anti medicine at all. I'm
Hmm.
all like for like whatever works for you, right? And
Yeah.
Tyler, I'm sure you agree. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very difficult, like just to get through life, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
especially if you're not so neurotypical and have things like we have, like OCD
Hmm.
and ADHD, and if meds could be used to help, I mean,
Yeah.
why not? Yeah. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just
There is a certain dose, depending on the medication that someone's taking, that OCD
right.
doesn't get treated until a certain dose. I believe on Paxil, when I was taking Paxil, I think it was 40 milligrams is when my OCD was
Okay.
like touched. I could not function without something. And even when I first got on medication, it was very scary because I didn't know what to expect, and it got worse for a
Of
little bit,
course.
because you're
Mm-hmm.
throwing chemicals and
Yes.
rebalancing things. But for I've been on medication for 11 years, and
Okay.
I couldn't imagine being off of it. I think,
Right.
when my brain chemistry changes as I get older, I'm sure things are going to have to change at some point. But I,
Sure.
I remember being at a point where I could not function without being on it. And there are some people who are on medication. There's some people who are not. There's so many different ways to help. I think, especially with ERP, ICBT, there's different alternatives to being able to confront OCD. And with
Right.
ADHD, it's also different too, in terms of the types of medications you're taking. But OCD and ADHD together, of course, you have a couple of other things to tackle there at
Right.
the same
I
time.
know.
So I can understand how, that can be very overwhelming.
Well, I've seen the ADHD meds work wonders for, um, my kids, and I have an adult female friend about my age who has a little guy who's also on meds, and it helped him, and so she started taking them as well, and she's begging me to try the ADHD meds because she thinks it'll just really help me, because it's really helped her. But
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm a little reluctant because I don't want to have to, but I'm getting close to wanting to try, because I think maybe I'll just be a little bit more productive during the day. I mean, right now I just have coffee, which helps me focus, but
Hmm.
they say it does kind of calm the noise in your brain a bit. So
Hmm.
um, yeah, but I haven't tried that. I'm going to take the Xanax for, like, to avoid panic attacks, which is kind of
Sure.
more for the OCD at night. But I
Hmm.
haven't tried the ADHD meds yet. But I probably should. So
Yeah, I'm not on medication for ADHD.
yeah,
My brother is. I'm not.
mm,
I have a harder time with the OCD part of my brain,
right,
and
yeah,
I still have a hard time with the ADHD, but it's much more manageable than the OCD.
exactly,
Um,
yeah,
so it's one of those things. It depends on the person. It depends on the severity. It depends on what works
severity,
for
yeah,
you. So
right,
that's the best way I think that we can explain it, right? And we're not therapists, we're not psychiatrists. Like, we're just two people who have
no,
OCD, and we're just we're talking about our experiences. And that's one of the big reasons why I started this podcast, is to have people like you and talk about your experience with it, and for other
right,
people to be able to feel less alone in their
right.
experience with OCD. So, and it's a very isolating experience. Like, I watched Turtles All the Way Down, which is a
Yes,
movie.
I saw your story or clip
Yeah,
and I read all about it once I saw your, like,
yeah,
clip on Insta. So
yeah. It was
yeah, I need to see
incredible.
that. I
Like, I
need to
just
see
felt
it.
like
Yeah.
I connected to the main character in so many ways, and it brought me back to thinking about the. Oh, I lost you. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yep,
Oh,
there you
hello.
are.
Oh,
Sorry.
you were out for
Yeah,
a second.
sorry.
You said it
My
was incredible, and then it went out.
It was incredible. Yeah, it was
Mm-hmm.
incredible. I really connected to the main character because I felt so isolated, just like her,
Mm-hmm.
in my whole childhood and growing up into high school, and just feeling super isolated and alone, and how I was feeling and thinking. And these are things that many people will never understand unless they have it. So
Right.
I highly recommend checking it out. I know it was a book before, and they turned it into a movie, and it was such a touching movie from my experience.
Oh yeah, I saw the trailer. I mean, I definitely want to check it out.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is the right place to ask this or not, but do you feel like, or do you even know, is it, like, with your OCD, is it definitely just something you inherited? Was there something that specifically triggered it? I mean, I know
Yeah.
for me, partially inherited because my mom has it pretty bad, but I also had some, trauma that I experienced as a child that definitely, I feel like it maybe exacerbated or made it come out,
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I was just wondering,
Yeah.
do you think it's usually both, or is it just chemical, or?
For me, it was both for
Yeah.
sure. Like I
Okay.
know it runs, like I know my mom has it. I know her mom
Right.
has it.
Okay.
But mine was the worst that anybody had seen because when I started to present it to my family, they were like, "What is this?" They had never
Right. Okay.
understood it in themselves because they had more of like they had. I don't even know if they. I don't know what their experience was, but it wasn't mine, and mine was
Exactly.
just exacerbated through my own trauma. I got injured in football at the age of 10. My arm was cut open, and it was just like hanging.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like there's a scar. I don't even you probably can't see it, but there's a scar on my arm.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay.
and it basically was like that was the catalyst for everything breaking free. So that was when I
Got
started to
it.
have more like I always showed signs of it like here and there growing up. My mom said
Sure.
like just like having to be very certain things had to be a certain way. And once I got injured, it was like, oh, if I don't do this, then this is going to happen. Or if my parents are
Right.
not here, this is going to happen. And that kind of just, the floodgates opened and everything. I was susceptible to it, definitely had a touch of it. And then as soon as there was a traumatic experience in my life, everything just
Got it.
ran free from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just think there are certain brains, especially if you inherit it, like they know that the OCD brain structure is physically different than
Right.
neurotypical, and so it's not just like you'll be fine, stop thinking about it. It's literally your brain structure and the chemicals in your brain that
Mm-hmm.
are different and are being carried out differently than someone who's
Yes.
neurotypical. So, if you're not even exposed, what's the word I'm looking for? Like if you are prone to it because it's in your
Right.
family, it's best to like learn about it, I think, and kind of get ahead of the
Absolutely.
curve, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So sorry, my cat is scratching at the door. I'm just going to let her out.
Aw, of course.
So
I love it. Oh my God, I love animals so
oh,
much.
me too. She's therapy. She's been a therapy. Uh,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, she's just been incredible. But yeah, so
Wait, do you have
I
two? I forget.
think
Do you have two cats? Do you have two
I
or just
do.
one?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah,
have
yeah.
two
Okay.
cats. I have
Yeah.
my oldest is 9 and my youngest is 3.
Oh,
And
oh.
I was just thinking this morning, we get so caught up in life and
Yeah.
trying to achieve certain things and to get through certain things. And no matter what changes in our lives, our animals love us just the same way. They don't care
Oh,
about the
it's the
accolades. They don't
best.
care about what things you're going through or what you don't have or what you have. They're there. They love you. And
It's the best.
that's
Unconditional.
it.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
another thing I like about social media. Like that's the good side. All
Hmm.
the pet videos, the viral ones that get sent around, like that just make you feel so good. You're like,
Yeah.
oh,
I love it. I
it's the
love it.
best.
It's
Yeah.
incredible. And I know you have your own babies yourself, right?
Yeah, just
Your
one. My
fur,
Boston
just
Terrier,
one. Yes.
Calvin.
Your
Cal, he
Calvin.
just turned 8. He was born on Star Wars Day, May 4th.
Oh,
So
happy late birthday.
yeah, I know he's
So
cute. He's a
cute.
good boy. So
That's
yeah, just
awesome.
just one. Yeah, 2 teens and 1 dog is enough for now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that's
it's a
I think
lot.
that's
I mean, I forgot how hard puppies were when we got, so we had another Boston Terrier who lived till 14 and a half, and then we waited 3 years, and then we got this guy.
oh my gosh.
And I mean, forgot how hard puppies are. I mean, I think
Yeah.
kittens are probably a lot easier, but I'm allergic to cats, unfortunately. I mean,
Mm,
I love all animals, but
yeah.
I can't get a cat.
Yeah.
But
Quite a few people in my life have the same problem, but they love
oh,
my Banja. She's the older one. They don't have any
right.
problem with her. For some
Oh,
reason, it's the boy, the male that they have a problem with.
with the dander or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
like I have everybody who's allergic that I've had in my house
Mm-hmm.
don't have a
Is fine
problem
around her.
with her.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really weird. I don't understand it.
Is she a certain
Um,
breed? Like I heard
she's
like a Bengal or something is supposed to be non-allergic
I
or
don't I don't know. She's a
uh,
Bombay. She's all black and
Bombay.
she's got like
Okay.
the softest fur. He is
Oh,
a tabby. He's orange and he's like
yeah.
just coarse
Oh,
coarse fur. So I don't know. I
okay.
really don't. I couldn't tell you, but it's odd. It's really odd.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. So this, I mean, this has been incredible. I know we're at the hour mark here, but
Sure.
I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you, is there anything that um you'd like to say, to the people listening, or just in regards to your mission, your page, whatever it is?
Right.
I'd love for you to leave your footnote.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, hello world. So, no, I mean, I just, please check out my account. It's on Instagram. It's at THEOCDEE. And eventually, the blog online will be there, theocd.com. And I will, once it's finally live, I'll make my announcement on at TheOCD. But really, if you want to get some good laughs and just feel good and know that you're not alone dealing with either OCD, ADHD, or even both like me, that, my account is a safe space to, vent on, leave comments, not feel alone, and just get some laughs, because we all need a little levity in our lives. So hopefully I could provide that. And just because I'm an old lady, 55-year-old, don't feel like I mean Tyler and I are buds, and
Yeah.
what are we, 25 years difference?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
if we
You're
could you
great.
could we could still all relate to each other. So
Yes.
don't let my oldness turn you away. So
We don't age shame here.
no age shame, right?
This
Exactly.
is a wonderful community. The OCD mental
Yeah.
community is incredible, and you're
Yes.
awesome, Dee. I mean, thank you so much for
You too,
giving me your
Tyler.
time here
Yeah, of
and
course,
and
anytime.
chatting. Yeah, I would love to have you on again at some point. We'll talk about once you have the blog up and running and you're doing your
It would be
thing.
great.
You can come back and we could chat some more. But I think what you're doing is great online. I love your content. I love your attitude towards all of this. And
Thank you.
um,
Likewise.
thank you so much. And I appreciate your positive attitude and being open to share about your experiences, because we need to continue to have people talking about their stories, because this is how we
Yes.
feel less alone. So I just want to, thank you very much for hanging out with me, and I'm looking forward to having you back.
Yes. Well, no problem. Me too. And you're welcome. And I can't wait to hear the new single,
Ah, yes, thank you.
Overthinking.
Yep, yep.
It's been an earworm in my ear, just so you know. Like,
I'm
it's
glad.
like I am constantly humming, and I'm like, okay, I need to
Thank
hear the
you.
whole thing now, because I want more.
Thank you. Thank you
So
so
good
much.
luck.
I
You're
appreciate that.
welcome.
Thank you. And so yeah, we'll see you soon.
Okay. Bye, everyone.